Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Forgotten Hockey Players of Broadway, a nostalgic look back at our favorite Rangers from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I'm Tom Browning, along with my co-host Rob Berger. We can be heard on Google Play, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and of course, our website at gotommyboyproductions.libsyn.com. That's gotommyboyproductions.libsyn.com. Please check it out. You can capture all of our episodes on our webpage. You can contact us by just clicking on the contact bar. You can leave a message. We'd love to hear from you. Love to hear about the players that you would like for us to profile. Love to hear about maybe some of the seasons other than the 60s, 70s, and 80s that really made an impact on you as a fan. Again, we will be going off the menu every once in a while. We'll be talking about the current day New York Rangers, the state of the franchise, and again, we love to talk about previous playoff games, impactful trades that took place in New York Rangers history. So wherever you listen to us, please hit subscribe. It's free. So without further ado, here are your hosts, Tom Browning and Rob Berger. Thanks for tuning in and welcome to another episode of the Forgotten Hockey Players of Broadway. I'm Tom Browning, along with my great friend and co-host, Rob Berger. Rob, how you doing today, bud?
I'm doing great, Tom. Happy spring, even though we don't have any hockey teams around. but we still have hockey, and the weather's getting warm.
Boy, it's like a summer day today. It's going to be hopefully a great weekend. And you're right, it's that time of year. It's the National Hockey League, getting close to the finals. And boy, I'll tell you, those Boston Bruins look like a juggernaut right now. I mean, watching that game the other night against Carolina, every single skater on the Boston Bruins hits everything and anything that moves. And you know what, Rob? Every time it seems like every series this year, without a doubt, and maybe I'm wrong, but it appears to me that the teams that are the most physical are advancing in the playoffs this year. You know, I don't know if you agree, but the hitting has been really ferocious, and the teams that are able to sustain it are the ones that are advancing this year in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. I agree. You know, how Boston's been playing has been remarkable. I thought they were going to lose to Toronto, so what do I know? But not only they're physical, but that top line, Marchand, Pasternak, and Bergeron, my goodness, they've been outstanding. And Tuukka Rask, I can't believe there were people in the Boston media calling for him not to be the number one during the playoffs.
Well, you know, he's got a lot to prove, right? I mean, it was Tim Thomas who brought the cup home a few years ago for the Bruins, and I think Tuukka Rask feels he's got a lot to prove. I mean, he's been an excellent regular season goalie. Had a little bit of a dip, I think, maybe last year or two, but he has really resurrected himself, and he has just been unbelievable. He is definitely in the zone.
I mean, I know it's easy to just assume at this point they're going to win it all, but if they do, I mean, I don't know. He only allowed 5 goals in 4 games to Carolina.
Yeah,
that's amazing. You know, talk about a Conn Smythe run for him. Even though only Logan Couture has more points than Marchand and Pasternak, they have just been outstanding. I'm shocked to see how that this team has played so well. After coming into the playoffs, I did not think that they would be this good.
Well, the Bruins had a good season this year. I mean, they were very consistent, were they not? I mean, they're always there, though, Rob. The Bruins are always there. They seem to have. They're solid. You know, their coaching staff is solid. You know, they got a Hall of Fame line, and Bergeron and Marchand and Krejci and Pasternak, and I mean, those guys. I mean, that is a Hall of. I mean, Marchand better start getting the due he deserves for being a future Hall of Famer. I don't know. I know he's a tough Kenny Linsman type player. He's not your cup of tea if you're playing against him. But if you have a guy like that on your team who produces game in and game out, I mean. He's the catalyst. That he and Bergeron together are just unbelievable.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm not saying that Boston didn't have a great season. I mean, you know, they had 107 points. That was second best, I believe, in the NHL, only behind Tampa Bay. I just how they've really dominated the last 2 rounds looks so good. Just a testament. And you know, Marchand, I know he does a lot of good off the ice, and he's so talented. but man, does he get under my skin. Of course, I'd want him on my hockey team any day.
Absolutely, baby. Absolutely.
But yeah, he's how he agitates. How he the perfect example was drawing that penalty on Justin Williams.
Yep.
That was perfect.
And I was surprised by Williams. I mean, I'm surprised that he took the bait on that one. Justin Williams better than anybody. I mean, the guy is one of the top playoff performers in the history of the game. Justin Williams plays a similar type of game. He's an agitator in his own right. A little surprised that he took the bait on that one. You're right. I don't know. Could it be that the Bruins always fly under the radar because they're so consistent? They play in the same market as the Red Sox and the Patriots. Maybe their market takes them for granted. The National Hockey League takes them for granted. I mean, Zdeno Chara is over 40 years old now, yet he keeps on keeping on. Bergeron keeps on keeping on. Tuukka Rask, maybe people didn't think much of him going into the playoffs, but the team is loaded. Torrey Krug is just a relentless player, and you got your Krejci and Pasternak is just oh my God. I mean, they just. Yeah, Johansson. I mean, they're loaded right now. They really, really are.
Yeah, Martian's only 30. They have a very team-friendly contract. Well, at least with Pasternak. Pasternak's only 22.
Yeah.
He's still under contract through 2023. They have Marchand wrapped up pretty much for the rest of his career. He's till 2025. Still only six a year. Still 3 more years of Bergeron and 2 more years of Krejci. They really don't have a lot to take care of on offense next year. Really, the only really big contract is Marcus Johansson on offense. The big ones are more likely going to be on defense with Charlie McAvoy and Brandon Carlo being RFAs.
Yeah, local kid makes good. Charlie McAvoy's had a great start to his career with the Bruins, but that Torrey Krug really impresses me. The kid is relentless, not very big, hits anything that moves, has an offensive flair to his game. The Bruins are so just well coached. That team has a DNA that even in their down years, they always play the game the right way. They really do. The team that you see today with the Bruins isn't too dissimilar from the team that I used to watch in the 60s and 70s. The physicality they bring to the rink every game, high-level skill in their front lines, got some offensive defensemen. They just play very consistently as an organization. And then, you got the San Jose Sharks that, they play a similar game to the Boston Bruins. They've got some physical forwards. They've got some offensive defensemen, big, strong defensemen. But I'll tell you, my son and I have been going back on the San Jose Sharks. They have gotten every single call and on-call in these playoffs, kind of reminiscent of the 60s and 70s Canadians, where they would get every freaking call in the book. And it seems like the Sharks can do no wrong. They're getting every single call, non-call, call. I mean, you name it. It's been unbelievable the breaks that this team has been getting.
Yeah, it's been different refs, but it's been almost every series that they've seen a good call. And I could let the Colorado call go, if it was in a vacuum. That was questionable. I mean, that is the rule. Landeskog does have to get off the ice on an offside. And he could have jumped, his teammates could have been helping him. He could have been getting over quicker. But that hand pass.
Oh, my God. Oof, to end the overtime
brutal.
game? Oh, my God.
That's brutal. And the Pavelski penalty against Vegas also.
Yeah.
Is it just that reaction? Those refs got taken out of the playoffs.
Yep.
So, I'm never one to fall into, especially now in 2019, to think the league biased. I can't imagine why the NHL would have a preference over San Jose over St. Louis. Now they're really the most attractive markets. I mean, maybe you can say the Joe Thornton story. Really right now for the NHL, it doesn't matter. They got Boston in. So I don't think ratings will be impacted either way with San Jose or St. Louis.
No, there's a lot of stories, though. Joe Thornton coming back to play the Bruins. But then again, you have St. Louis. You could have a rematch of the 1970 Stanley Cup Finals between the St. Louis Blues and the Boston Bruins when the Bruins won their first Stanley Cup in a long time. Bobby Orr's first cup. A lot of storylines that can develop with either the St. Louis Blues or the San Jose Sharks.
Yeah, a lot of storylines with St. Louis. They're the only only member of that group, that second group of teams to not win a cup.
Yep.
They haven't been back to a cup since '70. They've got this phenom in net, Jordan Binnington, who really came out of nowhere to, and if he had played more games, he'd win the Calder outright. I think. I don't think he's played. He still might win the Calder. He just hasn't been around long enough, in my opinion, at least. I think either way, it's going to be a great final.
Do you think he's had a little bit of a dip in his game since the last round? Do you think he's still as formidable or playing at the same level as in the beginning of the playoffs?
It's interesting. He definitely has had some great moments, but he's also had moments where his game has slipped. This is a lot of games for him to play. I doubt he's ever played this many games in such a short period of time in his career. So, listen, some of us have spent all year trashing San Jose's goaltending.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah, I'm still skeptical, though. I think the Bruins have a huge advantage with Tuukka Rask net, versus Jones with the San Jose Sharks. Jones has been proving me wrong up until now, but can he take it to the next level? Now, they still have to get by St. Louis. I think St. Louis is not going to be an easy out. I love the way they play the game, too. I think there's a lot of similarities between the way the Bruins, Blues, and Sharks play. They have some real offensive talent on the team, good goaltending, and they play physical. And, I think St. Louis is not going to just disappear. I think they're going to be in it, right to the very end. I don't think San Jose is just going to waltz into the win the next couple of games now. Do you?
No. I think the series goes 7.
Yeah, I can see that. And then with the Rangers, let's face it, we had our show on Glenn Sather, and now, obviously, there's talk about John Davidson coming over from Columbus and all the things that go with that, whether it be going after Panarin, or now there's some stories in the paper about Evgeny Malkin being a trade target for the Rangers, which I hope is not the case. The last thing I think the Rangers need right now is to give up assets for a 33-year-old Malkin, who I think has probably seen the best years of his career, both physically and skill-wise on the ice. He is 33 years old. Even Panarin a little bit skeptical, but, with John Davidson, if he does take on the position, which seems to be almost a done deal, you wonder if he brings him in, and you wonder how that's going to shake up the plan that Jeff Gorton has, which up till now has been pretty solid.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to see Malkin here. And it's not a knock on Malkin that he's played his best hockey. He's played a lot of hockey.
Oh, he has.
He's been to, he's won three times. He's won the Stanley Cup 3 times.
Yeah.
It's a lot of, plus he's went to another final before that against Detroit. So he's played so much hockey. He's almost at 400 goals. Panarin, though, he's 27. He's had, the worst year of his career is 27 goals. So he's been consistent with, 28 goals this year. So, he'd be quite the goal scorer, but you're going to have to give him a big number.
Yeah, you do. And 28 goals, though, isn't 40 goals. It's not 35. It's not 45 goals. It seems like every goal that he scores is a highlight reel goal, right? It seems like he scores more than he does. You look at his stats. 27, 28 goals is nothing to sneeze at, but, Chris Kreider gives you 22 to 26 goals a year. He disappears for long stretches during a game or during a season. I don't know. I just don't think I would want to be sidetracked giving up a lot of assets for, he's a free agent, so you wouldn't be giving away any draft picks for Panarin, but I don't know. Maybe the fact that you're just signing him to a big contract, I don't know what the Rangers cap space situation is right now. But, I guess it wouldn't hurt as much as a trade would hurt. I don't think he's as big of a goal scorer as people make him out to be. What are your thoughts on that?
He does have droughts. He had 2 stretches this year where he went almost a month without a goal, both in the beginning of the year and then even at the end of the year. He only had 2 goals in March, and that was at the end of the month. That's troubling. If he comes in here, he has to be a 40-goal guy. He has to be like when the Rangers signed Gaborik or Jágr. That's the expectation.
Yep.
When he comes in here, even that 1 year for Nash. If he's like you said, I think he's better than Kreider, and more skilled than Kreider. But I don't think he's worth I don't think he's worth what the Rangers would have to give him unless he can put up 40 goals,
right?
Which we've never seen.
And we've talked about this before. Hockey players, usually you get what you're going to get at 27, 28 years old. It's matter of fact, sometimes you get what you get when you see them at 23, 24. It's one of the rare sports where, guys reach their peak early 20s, mid-20s. It's very rare for a guy to start blossoming late 20s, early 30s. I mean, you see it on occasion, but it's rare. So I think you're getting what you're getting with Panarin. And again, you're only giving up money, big dollars, but it is a roster spot. And, I don't know. It'll be interesting. But, we'll have to see. Chris Kreider's name keeps on floating out there as far as being trade bait. Does he get moved at the draft? There's a lot of talk out there. And then, of course, you got the draft, and with Cappy doing so great for Finland right now, you wonder if the Devils are going to start having second thoughts about drafting him first and leaving Hughes to the Rangers, which, a lot of Ranger fans would have no problem with. But I still think that the kid from Finland is more what the Rangers need right now, more the way the head coach wants to have the team play the game as opposed to Jack Hughes. What are your thoughts?
I think the Devils are. I think the Devils are going to draft Capo.
They would, wouldn't they?
Yep.
Boy, what a I think we talked about that. We talked about the Devils ratio or reversing course, not just to needle the Rangers, but seeing this kid play in the Worlds. I mean, the kid is just unbelievable, and yeah, I can see it too. I can. Wouldn't it be just like the Rangers drafting a highly skilled, diminutive, smallish type of player that will get pounded every game? I mean, you need a Cappy on the Rangers to protect the smaller players in the team. Who's going to protect Jack Hughes when he joins the Rangers? Who's going to protect Hughes from getting his head handed to him, each and every game? I don't know. But I can see that, Rob. I really can. I can see Shiro making that move, especially if this kid keeps on playing the way he's playing amongst men, for crying out loud.
Yeah, and Jack Hughes is not really playing. Didn't really play a lot at the Worlds. 7 minutes
a game.
Yeah, so he with his size and how he performed at the Worlds. I mean, maybe his handlers told Team USA to keep him back, but he expects to be ready to jump in right when the season starts, and I don't even know if he'll be ready for that.
Might not be.
His skill is there, but. This is a lot different than where he's been playing.
He's a tiny guy, though. He is very slight. He really, really is. I mean, Doug Gilmour, Davey Keon, type of player. I mean, even Taze is bigger size and, more length. He's taller and more wiry. I mean, the kid's only 17. He could grow, but I don't know. I think somehow, some way, I just hope that it all goes according to what the experts say, and the Rangers get their power forward and highly skilled. But we'll see. And he is
18. He is 18 as of this week. If that changes anything.
Jack Hughes?
Yeah, he just turned 18.
Okay. Well,
he's ranked number 1 by everybody.
Yeah.
Every scouting service, every prospect website has Jack Hughes as number 1. Listen, I don't think that they lose with him with getting Jack Hughes at all. I think we should focus on the fact this was a great coup that the Rangers are drafting second after the year they had.
Right.
Without throwing away the entire season. Granted, they didn't make the playoffs, but I think we were all expecting this is going to be one of those years where they don't go full on tank and end up with a high pick. They get stuck in that rut of drafting 8th through 15th, and here they are sitting at number 2.
Yeah, I mean that's what they've been doing really for my entire life, and But, if Jack Hughes was going into a physical team, like the Sharks or the Bruins, where he would have protection, he would be given the time and space by his teammates. It'd be a no-brainer. Rangers don't have that. It's just they throughout their entire organization, which obviously another thing they've been doing, they've been purging their minor league system of coaches. And I hear Schoenfeld has resigned from the New York Rangers as well as assistant GM.
Yeah.
So he's out. No, I just think if the Rangers had guys in place to protect Jack Hughes, it'd be a different story. But they don't have that right now. So, yeah, so we'll have to see. The coaching staff has to, well, obviously the Devils going to make the decision for him. So any closing thoughts on the playoffs before we head to our focus player today, Barry Beck?
No, I don't think so. I just hope we have a little more juice in the game next spring.
Yep, absolutely. And well, Barry Beck's a guy, Rob, I've been looking forward to talking about. He's been on my mind to bring into the show as one of the forgotten Rangers, one of the biggest, strongest, naturally strong players in the history of the National Hockey League. And I remember him coming up. Well, he was the second pick in the 1977 draft, right behind Mike Bossy. The Colorado Rockies drafted Beck number 2. He had a stellar junior career with the Bruins, and I think he had won the MVP of the tournament the spring leading up to the draft with the Westminster Bruins, right? The New Westminster, they won the Cup in 77, and he was an MVP, had a great offensive year that year. I think he scored 19 goals, and second to Bossy in the draft. And he made an immediate impact with the Colorado Rockies his very first year with the team.
Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't behind Bossy, though. That was like a couple of years before. It actually wasn't that great of a draft. Only really big name in that first round of the 77 draft was Doug Wilson, really. Lot of guys that played a lot of hockey games, but no real Bossy was, with the exception of Bossy, but Bossy was the later end of the draft.
Yeah, my mistake. He finished second to Bossy in the Rookie of the Year voting that first year. Yep.
Yeah, he finished second to Bossy. But they won the 77 Memorial Cup. He was a great junior player. New Westminster, and then the whole Colorado Rockies. He quickly settled in. Like you said, he was second. In the Calder, was a top 10 finalist for the Norris the next year. Always got All-Star votes.
Yep.
Pretty much until the last few years of his career was always top 10 All-Star player.
Yeah, I think he made the All-Star team. I think 5 years. And I remember when he first came up with the Rockies, he was a human highlight reel with ESPN with the hard hits he would make. I mean, he had a booming slap shot, a heavy shot, and he was offensively gifted. He skated pretty well for a big guy, but the guy was nothing but muscle. About 6'3", 215. He was possibly the biggest player, the strongest player in the league at that particular point in time. He was immensely strong. A powerful skater, a menace in front of the net. You just did not get second shots, rebounds when he was on the ice playing for Colorado in the beginning of his career. He had some offensive game to him. I believe he scored, he scored 22 goals his first year with the Rockies. Was that his second year? He
scored 22. He scored 22 his first year.
Yeah. Which at the time set the record. I think he set the record for a rookie defenseman scoring 22 goals at that time.
Yeah, I mean, to have I couldn't even imagine a defenseman coming in rookie year scoring 22 goals like that. Playing 75 games, 22 goals, 38 assists on not a good hockey team.
Yeah, I mean, Potvin didn't do it. Park Orr didn't do it. It was Barry Beck. And, he played, in somewhat anonymity out in Colorado. But as he says in his biography that it was a great place to play, 21 years old, making a lot of money, not a lot of pressure, playing with a bunch of young guys. Don Cherry was the coach, I guess, and they had a lot of fun playing, and he was playing loose and carefree, but he was a physical, dominant player at that time. And his second year, he had a little bit of a dip. I think at that time, he tried to renegotiate his contract, fell into a little bit of disfavor with Don Cherry and the Colorado brass, I guess. And there was some rumor that at the time that Colorado was itching to move to New Jersey. This is well before it actually happened. And that they wanted to unload Barry Beck before that move, which I don't understand the rationale behind that, why they would want to move Beck before moving to New Jersey. But I guess there was some rumor. Beck had heard that they were trying to move him, and there was a funny story as to how it actually happened. I don't know if you heard about it, but any thoughts about Beck's first couple of years before I go into the story? Maybe you can tell if you know it as well.
Well, I'll let you tell the story. I know what story you're talking about. I'll let you tell it, but this story is not surprising with everything we know about Don Cherry.
Well, what a character Don Cherry is! I guess he's got this bull terrier called was it Blue?
Yep.
And I guess Blue used to run, not run, but he used to, Don Cherry used to let him loose, I guess, in the locker room before games. And at one particular time, And having a pet, having a dog most of my life, I know exactly what happened. Sometimes dogs, they rub their backsides on the rug. And right in front of Barry Beck's locker, Blue does just that, where I guess in the spot where Beck does his pregame push-ups. And after Blue did his number on the carpet, I guess Beck gave him a little swat with the hockey stick, and Blue went off yelping, crying into Don Sherry's office. And Sherry came out and wanted to know who did it, and no one would own up to it. And the very next day, I guess, somehow Sherry must have gotten wind as to who did it, because the very next day, Beck was traded to the New York Rangers. So that's the story, and I guess Beck swears by it. But yeah, Don Sherry was quite a character, and I guess that's what caused Barry Beck to join the New York Rangers in a humongous trade at the time. I remember the Rangers giving up some incredible talent. Pat Hickey, Lucien Deblois, Mike McEwen, Dean Turner. They were all very productive New York Rangers at the time of that trade, and we all were wondering, my God, this is an awful lot to give up for a Barry Beck.
Yeah, and Fred Chiro called it one of the biggest trades in Rangers history.
Oh, yeah. And,
that Rangers team, pretty much like every Rangers team, needed a big, aggressive defenseman.
Yep.
I guess everybody needs a big, aggressive defenseman.
Well, especially the Rangers.
But, they always did. And, he came in with, 36 goals. Already he was 6'3", over 200 pounds. So he was aggressive and had offense. Like you said, they gave up a lot. I think there was a quote that I remember reading. I read saying they weren't. They settled for McEwen because they couldn't get Greshner. But yeah, it's a splash. These teams, we don't really see trades like that anymore.
No,
unless a team is dismantling itself, like Ottawa did this last couple of years. So yeah, Chiro knew what to do.
Yeah, Mike McEwen was a gifted offensive player. He scored in the high teens. I think he had 120-goal season with the New York Rangers. Very gifted offensive defenseman. Went on to star for several of the New York Islanders Stanley Cups. Pat Hickey was a very good offensive player. I think he had scored 40 and 36 goals consecutively right before the trade to Colorado. Lucien Deblois was a very productive young player for the Rangers and went on to have a pretty good career with other teams as well. And so they gave up a lot of talent. But again, during that point in time, Rangers were considered the Smurfs. The Islanders were physically taking it to them. The Flyers were taking it to them. Yeah, and I guess after Chiro, you had Ted Sater come in to become the coach, who was a disciple of Freddie Chiro, a former Flyer coach himself. And that kind of ended his career with the New York Rangers a few years later. But yeah, they needed Barry Beck in the worst way to bring some physicality, like you said, not only to the blue line, but for the team. They didn't, besides Nick Fotiu, they really didn't have anybody else besides Barry Beck to, give the smaller players the time and space that they needed. But, the irony is, getting Beck to help against the Islanders, it was the New York Islander Platt Flatley in the playoffs in '84 that really led to the final demise of Barry Beck.
Yeah, he was never really the same after that. Only played 25 more games with the Rangers, and that was, you look at that '84 season, he was again a top 10 Norris candidate.
Yeah, All-Star. Yep,
All-Star. 9 goals, 27 assists. He was still a major contributor to the Rangers.
Yeah, he was. He never met the physicality that he had. It was actually the shoulder and back ailments really started a few years earlier. He was decimated with separated shoulders and ligament damage and back problems. And, he had 231 penalty minutes for the Rangers in his second season, first full season with the Rangers. And that's when he was at his physical best. But all the injuries took their toll, and he became more measured in his physical play. He picked his spots more. And it was noticeable on the ice, and that led to some frustration with Ranger fans for a couple reasons. One, he wasn't physical all the time, game in and game out, like he was early in his career with Colorado or in the beginning with the Rangers. And his offensive game suffered too because he didn't use that hard shot, that hard, heavy shot as much. And remember Bill Chadwick used to always chide him and, yelling in the, shoot the puck, Barry, shoot the puck. And it became almost like a pop fan chant. Almost became like a pop fan chant at the Garden. Ranger fans to this day still chant that, shoot the puck, Barry, when the Rangers don't shoot enough on the power play. So he definitely, the physical ailments took a big toll on his career. It really did.
Yeah, he hurt that shoulder so many times, needed surgery in 84, only played 25 games, 85, 86. Even after sitting out a full season, he tried to make a comeback and couldn't even make it through training camp.
No, he couldn't.
With the shoulder.
But that, yeah.
I mean, he retired, I guess unofficially retired because he played one more year in L.A., but he unofficially retired at 30 years old.
Too young. But, getting back to the 83-84 finals, playoffs with the Islanders. I mean, the Islanders had another great season. They were defending Stanley Cup champs. The Rangers had them on the ropes. The Rangers outplayed the Islanders for the first 3 games. They were winning. They were up 2-1, totally outplaying the Islanders. And up 1-0 late in the second period of game number 4, where they could have eliminated the New York Islanders, and that would have been something. Pat Flatley just caught back in the corner on a loose puck just the right way. And Pat Flatley was a big, tough, physical rookie at the time with the New York Islanders. Beck was hurt immediately. Islanders went on to score later on that same series of play. Beck just crumpled to the ice, and that was the end. That was the Islanders wound up scoring 2 quick goals, winning the game 3-2, and then winning at the Coliseum in the deciding game, a memorable game that went to overtime where Kenny Morrow scored, I believe, the winning goal in that one. Yeah, I mean, it was just it was a very tough end to the career of Barry Beck. And like you said, 30 years old, it was just too soon for a big physical specimen like Beck to end his career.
Yeah, he just falls in the pantheon of Rangers that should have played longer, and just really his game just took such a downturn because of these injuries once he got to New York. You bring up the famous shoot the puck, Barry. He had a strong year his first year. His first year, he still finished that season with 15 goals. 14 of them with the Rangers. And he scored 11 goals the next year. But once the injuries started piling up, he could never again really play the game. He had an 81 season where he had over 200 penalty minutes, and just slowly progressed down to less and less.
Right. Yeah, it's true. And now he's got a very important position over in Hong Kong in China. He's been there for quite some time now. He's the coach of the men's is it Olympic team or world? I think it's the Olympic team. Their
national team.
The national team, and he's got an academy, a hockey academy over there. I think he's been doing that for about 20 years now, and he felt it was time to give back. He liked the lifestyle. I guess he spent a lot of time in Vancouver. He might have even been a Vancouver native. And he just feels that Hong Kong has a lot of the same diversity, reminds him a lot of Vancouver. He went over there, took to coaching, took to the lifestyle over there. He's been there ever since, and he's got a thriving hockey academy over there and really enjoys coaching and running the business side of it. And he is a very well-known celebrity over there, running that national team and running that hockey academy.
Yeah, it's crazy to see guys do this, to go to a program where he's not even, as successful as he is, he barely has a winning record as coach. So he's really taken this program off the ground and trying to build it into something. It's pretty remarkable. I mean, he's playing all over Asia. He's playing in the Middle East, places like Abu Dhabi and Kuwait. A lot different. Hong Kong might remind him of Vancouver. I don't think Abu Dhabi does, though.
No.
And playing in world championships where finishing at the bottom of the tournament is just good for him.
Yeah. No, he's quite a guy. Very, very, very smart guy. Very worldly. He's got a lot in the ball. Wore number 5 with pride with the New York Rangers. Ranger fans really loved him. I wouldn't say it was a love-hate relationship. I mean, the Ranger fans were frustrated at times with, like I said, not being as physical as he was in the beginning, or with Colorado, not having the offensive aggressiveness that he had at one time because of his injuries. But, fans, I think, really enjoyed seeing him stick up for his teammates. He really did that. I mean, you can never say Barry Beck never came to the defense of his teammates. He had the respect of almost everybody in the National Hockey League. He made 5 All-Star teams. He just loved Herb Brooks. I know they had their moments, together where they didn't always get along, but he really respected Brooks as a head coach. So number 5 is a guy that it'd be nice if the Rangers brought him back every once in a while. Again, you don't see him in any of these organized Rangers activities, probably because of the fact he's so far away and living in Hong Kong. But it'd be nice to have him show up and be part of that, an active part of that alumni.
Yeah, I mean, everybody had a problem with Herb Brooks, so that's not unique to him. It would be nice. Again, I think that's the point of this podcast, is guys that have been forgotten,
right?
That were so important to the Rangers, in one way or another. Especially the 70s and 80s, which had a couple teams that were so close, and had a battle with the team a few miles away on Long Island.
Yeah, that's true.
I think Barry Beck would be great to see. Again, he's in Hong Kong though.
Yep, too far away. He just can't catch a cab to the Garden.
Yeah, I don't see Dolan paying for that flight.
That's true. So. That's true. That's for sure.
I wonder if everybody in Hong Kong has seen videos of Barry Beck racking up 200 penalty minutes.
Oh, I'm sure they have. I think I'm sure they have, especially the youngsters. I'm sure that's how he motivates his team a lot. I'm sure that the older kids or the older men who play on the national team, I'm sure they've seen Barry Beck in action more than once on YouTube or on film. And he's again, when he first came up, he was on ESPN all the time. I mean, he was a staple on ESPN. He really, really was for just the incredible hard hits. And you go on YouTube today, you can see some of it when he was with the Rangers, some of the hits at center ice and against the boards, against the glass, and good fighter, came to the defense of his teammates. And he was a physically formidable force when he was healthy. And unfortunately, he just wasn't healthy enough in his career. I don't know. So, we're getting back to our intent here of highlighting players from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. What I'd like to do in June, Rob, and we talked about this, is maybe branch off a little bit, go to the 2000s, and a coach that brought a lot of intensity to the New York Rangers club, and won a cup with Tampa Bay, and did a pretty decent job with the Columbus Blue Jackets, John Tortorella. I'd like to talk about him during our next show in June. What are your thoughts?
Well, I know Tortorella did not appreciate being asked if he thought it was a good year in Columbus.
Oh, I missed that one. Is that right?
Yes, he does not consider this to be a good year.
And it wasn't Brooksy who asked that question, was it?
It was not.
Oh, that's a story. That's a podcast in itself. Just Brooks versus Larry Brooks, Tortorella versus Larry Brooks. Those two have been. Oh my God, what a relationship those two have. But any final closing thoughts on Beck or setting the stage for Tortorella on our next podcast?
Yeah, Tortorella, we talk about players that didn't get along with Herb Brooks. Tortorella was a mix, and he'll be fun to talk about because I think perceptions about Tortorella are mixed and a lot of them inaccurate. So I look forward to talking about it.
And I've got a young man who's going to be joining us on that podcast, someone who's actually worked for the Columbus Blue Jackets a few years back. He's the son of a former colleague of mine. Logan Smith is going to be joining us for our next podcast. He's going to give a little insight not only on Tortorella, his thoughts, but also on the Columbus Blue Jackets. So that should be an exciting addition to our podcast in June. So, thanks, Rob. And I'm looking forward to the Tortorella podcast sometime in June. So on behalf of Rob Berger, this is Tom Browning saying goodbye for the Forgotten Hockey Players of Broadway. Look forward to you folks tuning into our next episode. Thank you for listening. This has been a Go Tommy Boy production.